Good evening and welcome to episode 14 of the Pack Homer podcast brought to you by Waters and Mathis CPAs. If you want to run rule the IRS, visit WMCPAs.com. Apologies for last week. We have a really busy life sometimes, and we recorded that podcast. Wesley wasn't with us because he was down there working on his tan in the Caribbean, and me and Adam recorded one that was, I would say, subpar sound quality. So before we even get started tonight, we'll apologize for that. Adam unavailable to join us tonight, but whenever there's not a podcast ready on Monday mornings for folks commute to work, we seem to get reached out to. So I felt like it was important for us to go ahead and knock it out tonight. Talk about this week's series with weekend series with Florida State, and also the midweek game that we just continue to have bad luck in. Tonight's just me and Wes. Wes, do you want to give us a little ACC rundown this weekend? There was a lot of teams off. Our neighbors, Carolina and Duke, both were. I don't even think Carolina played at all. Duke had a non-conference matchup. Wake did too, but I'll let you give us a little rundown.
Yeah, there were several teams that were, out of conference play. In terms of in conference play, Clemson over Georgia Tech, Notre Dame over Pitt, and Louisville actually swept BC, and that was the ACC games this week. So Louisville stays hot. They're winning some games. I think they're 2 games over 500 in the conference.
Yeah, right on our heels. And I think we were kind of disgruntled today that Florida State evidently had the rec league ground crew at their place in Tallahassee, and I guess they didn't pull the tarp or left the sprinklers on or something. But we only were able to get 2 down in Tallahassee, and we're hoping to get a series win. But I don't know, maybe we were better off not playing if we did somehow lose 2 out of 3 down there. That would have put us at 13-11 in the league. With Louisville, who is 13-11, and Louisville would have the tiebreaker over us because they swept us, of course. Give you a little rundown of the standings right now in the Atlantic. Clemson's at 17-7. Florida State's at 14-9. NC State split with Florida State this weekend. We're at 13-10. Louisville at 13-11. Wake Forest at 12-12. And then as far as postseason play, Notre Dame and BC are kind of all but eliminated. They're 9-18 and 8-19. UNC on the coastal side is at 17-7. Virginia is at 14-10. Duke at 14-10. Virginia Tech at 13-11. Georgia Tech at 12-12. And then Miami's at 8-16, which is just kind of mind-boggling. And then Pitt in the cellar at 6-18. Before we talk about this weekend series, Wes, I don't know if you were able to watch the UNCW game the other night. Another tough loss to the Seahawks. Seahawks are top 50 in the RPI now. I think they might be top 40 after the day. They swept Campbell this weekend. And I saw there that Tanner Thatch broke the home run record for UNCW with 22 in a season. And as a sophomore, has a chance to, before the year's over, to break the all-time UNCW home run record, which is 40. He's already hit 37 with a good part of his sophomore year left over, which is, that's a lot of home runs. And then, you look at Condon down at Georgia. I think he's hit 31 now just this year, which is just nuts. But anyway, in that game, didn't Kozart hit 2 home runs the other night against UNCW? Is that right?
I had limited service. I was out of the country, but I know there was at least 1 home run. But yeah, I had pretty limited service. I was checking in now and then when I could, but very limited service down there.
Yeah, Wesley was texting with us, and a lot of times he was only responding when we would make negative comments as to what was happening. But yeah, in that game, it kind of looked like, you know what, we're the better team, and we're going to come out and win. We got up 3-0, then we were up 4-1, and then UNCW scores 3 in the 6th. Yeah, Kozar did homer twice, homered in the first and in the fifth. So we're up 4-1. UNCW storms back. We're not able to hold on in the bullpen and actually lose in 10 innings. My guy Derek Smith is the tough luck loser in that ball game. A game where we struck UNCW out 13 times. They struck us out 5 times. They threw, pretty much Harry Hull's staff. We left 10 guys on base. They left 8 on base. Their pitchers walked 7. Our pitchers walked 4. You just look at the box score. You're like, man, maybe we probably should have won, but only have 5 hits in 10 innings, which is, I don't know. We're going to talk about the offense a little bit more here in a minute, but I'm beginning to get a little concerned with the offense that we have spoken so highly of, especially early on in the year. I think it's almost flipped, West, to where I might be a little more concerned about where we stand offensively right now than even where we are as a staff. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you're betting on NC State, don't bet on them on Tuesdays and Sundays. I can tell you that that is a poor bet if you're doing that. And I don't know. When we talk about offense, like I said, I've been out of the loop the last over a week, out of the country, but I listened to Alex's pod and talking about the bottom half of the lineup, and you have to like what we saw, at least this weekend from the bottom half of the lineup. Some really good at bats for sure. We just didn't really, we didn't capitalize from the top of the lineup a lot of times there. So yeah, I mean, I think we got to put it all together. But there are definitely some concerns, especially. I mean, you kind of think Sunday would just be an anomaly at some point, where the bats are going to click on Sunday. But I don't know. We just hadn't. It definitely hasn't clicked. The BC series when we had the marathon that was, 16-13 or whatever that game ended up being. Is that the last time?
Out 30 mile an hour. Yes, the last time we really scored any runs on a Sunday, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we need to change ministers, on the team, or if we're not going to church. I don't know what's happening on Sunday early a.m., but we might need to swap something up here.
Get somebody else to come in and talk to the guys.
It's not hitting. I mean, and we at times I think even today early on we were hard. I was hard on Dom, with some early walks, and hell, it wouldn't matter if we had Tom Glavine out there on the mound. He can't score runs. So I mean, even on a Sunday, 8 runs. I mean, that's for a Sunday game. We should have some more offense than that to at least keep us competitive in the game. And I know with Eli, he had that hit. The center fielder made a great play, and not just that, there were several great plays by Florida State. But they're a good team. You expect that. It's not like they're doing something that is just out of the equation. They're making plays like any top 10 team would in the country.
Yeah, and I want to talk about our lineup here in a minute, and if any adjustments that we kind of feel like maybe we should look at. I don't know. With Noah coming back, that's nice. But so we go into the game on. Let's talk about the 2 games with Florida State first. We did split, and that was a huge split. We jumped up to the top 21 or 2 in the RPI today. Gosh, I mean, if you look at like all of our metrics, like we're like 13 out of 14 in the ACC and in team ERA. Our batting average is not in the top half. We don't hit a lot of home runs. I think a lot of our stats are skewed by the fact that we just get our doors blown off on Sundays. But like a team, we can win on Fridays and Saturdays. Unfortunately, we didn't get to play Saturday this week. But the other night, or last week in the podcast, Wes, I said or maybe it wasn't even on our podcast. I was on the Trinity Road, the Lotcast this week with those fellas, and they asked me, what would kind of doom us in a series with Florida State. And I said, well, one, if Sam had been kind of struggling a little bit lately, if Sam doesn't get us 5 or 6 innings, it's going to be tough sledding for the rest of the weekend with our bullpen. Well, that game Friday night, if you watched, we got rained on, lightning, whatever. We had a weather delay right in the middle of that game. Their starter, who honestly, we did something to him no one else has done all year. We had 9 hits off of him in 3 innings. And their starter and our starter, Sam, had to come out. Sam had only pitched 2 innings. So it became a bullpen game when the game resumed in the bottom half of the third. And a game where, we brought Van Dam in. Again, Van Dam, honestly, didn't look very good. And then what's even more concerning, and we don't know for certain yet, I don't think there's been any confirmation, but Van Dam come out to pitch the 4th and throwing his warm-up pitches, he left the game with an injury. And, of course, we didn't see him anymore Friday or the rest of the weekend. So for a team that, we feel like we've got some question marks in the bullpen, Van Dam has been one of our more reliable pieces. We lose him in that game. And then Cooper Consiglio came in, and he was phenomenal. 4.1 innings, 2 hits, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, and really, really kept us in the ball game. We were lucky, like I said earlier, we jumped out and got 6 runs on Arnold, who was their ace. But even that offense, Wesley, I know you were able to watch that one. There's a lot of small ball in that game. Do you remember some of our hits? I know Cozart hit a home run, and Amac hit a home run in that game. But how many bunts, infield hits do we have? It seemed like a lot. Like, not a lot of contact, but found a hole.
Yeah, I remember Chase, man. He hit a ground ball that I've never seen a ground ball go that high. Off the ground, and Chase is he's a great player, but he's not known for his speed by any means. And it wasn't even close to first base. And then you add in the bunts. Hebner has laid down some great bunts, and pretty sure Baby Nixon did the same. So yeah, we were playing small ball, and I think we even had a suicide squeeze in there. It was fun.
It turned into a hit. Didn't get him at the plate. It turned into a
hit. It was fun. It was fun to watch. It was fun to watch that game. And like you say, when we go back to metrics and, from an offense as a whole, and of course, Cozart, now if you look at Pennington, Cozart, and Amac, I think that's probably what we thought beginning of the season. You're going to have three studs there. But even as a season as a whole, maybe we start seeing some of that, especially with the bottom half of the lineup where those guys are just battling. Going back to Chase, Nixon, he's only struck out, 9 times the entire year. So, that guy's going to put the ball in play, the majority of time. So I don't know from a metric standpoint, because Cozart started out slow. How much of that, you really buy into? I still think the team can hit for power. I think we got to get Eli going. I don't think anybody when Coach Avent was constructing the lineup would have thought Eli would be batting 260 with 5 home runs. This doesn't make a whole lot of, you just wouldn't have thought that's where we would be at this point. But Cozart's hot, and if I'm assembling the lineup because I'm assuming we're not going to play Tuesday night, but if I'm assembling, is it Virginia next weekend, right?
It is Virginia next weekend. I did see something, which the weather looks like it's going to be terrible here this week. But talking about next week, the NCAA has highly discouraged teams from canceling midweek games and what they view as folks trying to protect their RPI. The NCAA, I think, released a statement on that game against Norfolk State, I think they were 11-34 as of yesterday. I don't know what they are. But us playing that game will not help us at all, RPI-wise. We can beat them 20-0, and we're going to go down in the RPI. So, I'm all right with it raining out, but I got a feeling that the NCAA is going to want to make sure it rains before it gets
Well,
It
there's
gets
some weird
banned.
stuff going on. I don't know if you saw the ECU South Florida. The Saturday game was postponed because South Florida had sickness on their team. That's what it said. There was a medical reason that game was postponed. So I don't know anymore. I mean, there's just things that happen that I can't understand. But I can't believe that we're actually going to play those guys on Tuesday. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
as we're assessing where the extent of Van Dam's injury, I can't see one benefit of us playing. Is it Norfolk State? Norfolk State on Tuesday night.
No, I agree. So in that game against Florida State, we went 8-7, and if you look at the box score, like it was going to be a tough pill to swallow if we don't win that game. We beat Florida State 12-7. We out hit Florida State 14-7. We walked 4 as a staff. They walked 8 as a staff. We left 12 guys on. I think one of the probably the most frustrated we were talking during that game was when we had the bases loaded and they'd walk 3 guys in a row, and Eli came up and swing at first pitch with 1 out and hit a lazy pop up to the third baseman, and we're like, my gosh, like
He walked 3
anything
guys in a
productive.
row.
Yeah, not like he's not struggling a little bit there.
That was tough to swallow. The circumstances there. Of course, if he like Cal said in the text, if he'd hit it 400 foot, he'd been a hero.
Amen. And then in the ninth, like it seems like you always have to do if you're an NC State fan. Then we had to go through 1, 2, 3 in their lineup. Derek Smith came in. I mean, he was phenomenal. He got one of the things. Gosh, I don't know if anyone else watches the games and feels this way. So first and foremost, I'm happy that Derek Smith came in and got a save. But I am kind of like perplexed if y'all watch the game. My man came in the 8th, and he was throwing a bunch of sliders. He obviously throws a great slider. I think that if he threw, I don't know, Wesley, like 20, I hadn't looked at the exact box score, but if he threw 20, let's see, he threw 30 pitches in that game. Did he throw 27 sliders?
At least.
I just don't get it. And like maybe I'm like too old school, and if I was coaching the staff, we'd have an ERA of 26. But my gosh, like dude throws 95. I think he threw like 2 or 3 fastballs. Like he just kept throwing slider after slider after slider.
I'm sure there's some advanced metrics that the staff has that maybe that we don't, but I agree with you. It seemed like it was a lot for a guy that has that power, ability to overpower the batters. But hey, it worked out. So
yeah, I think one of the bats I really didn't like was I felt like he threw so many sliders that got fouled off. I was like, man, this guy is like so off balance. If you just bang him with 95 right here, he's just going to walk back to the dugout. And I think we walked him on another slider. But anyway, Derek Smith came in and gets the save. And at the time we didn't know it, but that guaranteed us at least a tie in the series because game 2 ends up being canceled. And then today we go out and play what was scheduled to be game 3. So we ended up playing a 2-game set with Florida State. And today, as Wesley has already alluded to, another Sunday where we get our doors blown off. Dom came out, had really a chance to get out of the first inning, and it be a 2-0 game. But we didn't turn the double play. They gave us the double play, and we spiked the ball. I think it was Butterworth spiked the ball to first base that Pennington couldn't handle. We don't get the double play, and then they end up scoring 2 more runs that inning. We're down 4-0 early. Do get 1 run in the second, and 4-1 is as close as it ever gets. Left 10 guys on the day. if you look at the box, we had one hit from Eli, two from Amac, a hit from Butterworth, hit from Luke, two from Hebner again. And that goes back to what I want to talk. We were talking about earlier and wanted to talk about. So, what do you make of this lineup now that we have Noah back? So, if you guys are not in the loop, we lost Josh Hope for the season. Terrible injury on a collision in the outfield, broke his leg, and we have moved. Luke Nixon, who's been playing a really, really good second base. We've moved him to left field actually now that we got Noah back, which I think we're all happy that we have Noah back in the lineup. We moved Luke to left. Noah's playing right, and now Chase has become our everyday DH. And we've taken him out of left field and decided to play his brother Luke out there. But one of the things we discussed a lot today, Wesley, is we seem to have gotten a lot of production out of the bottom half of the lineup this weekend. And the top half kind of seems to be a little hit and miss right now. So let's go back to the leadoff spot. We've had Eli Serrano lead off, Noah Souls, Brandon Butterworth, Josh Hope. Did Josh ever lead off? I don't know if he did. Lucas led off.
He did. I think he did 1 or 2 games.
So we've had, 5 guys in the leadoff spot. So if you're writing a lineup card right now, who are you leading off?
Not Eli. I don't want Eli there. I think he fits better, further down the lineup. It's no secret. I like Luke a lot. I think Luke would be a good lead off, but I don't know that you don't, that I'm not overthinking it. Souls has been productive at lead off for multiple years. And, I don't think you can go wrong whether it be Nixon or whether it be Souls at lead off. I think at this point, if I was Coach Avent, I would probably go with a veteran because, he's been here. We're down the home stretch now of the season, going into the last 2 series, then into the conference tournament, and then to regionals. I think from a confidence standpoint, you put the veteran out there that that he's going to see the ball, he's going to have good at bats. So for me, I would go with Souls.
With Souls, yeah, I like Souls or Luke. Neither one of those guys strike out a ton. Eli, to me, he kind of, he swings through a few more pitches than those guys do, it seems like. I know there's probably a metric out there that we can find on how many pitches that batters see per at bat. I think that you want a guy in the leadoff spot that's going to go deep in counts and grind. You look at Luke as a freshman and the fact that he's, over 100 plate appearances now, like 100 close to 140, 150 plate appearances. He's been hit 7 times too, but he's walked 26 times and only struck out 18 times, which is pretty impressive for a kid that was playing high school baseball a year ago. So I kind of like Luke, but I've said it before, and I agree with you, Wesley. He's just done it for so long that I do think that it makes our lineup better if we can move Serrano, back down toward the middle of the lineup where, if he can look to, elevate and celebrate, because I think that is one of the glaring things right now that he's only hit 5 home runs. I think he's a guy we expected to hit double digits. Still can. He might hit 5 next weekend. A couple weeks ago, we were talking about Cozart's only hit 6 or 7 home runs, and we need some offense out of Cozart. Now he's hit 15 all of a sudden. He just got red hot. I do like Pennington hitting second. That's for a guy with his power. You don't normally think about having that guy batting the 2-hole, but with Amac and Cozart behind him, I do like him hitting second. He hits the ball so hard, so often, that I feel like you want him in the box. With our lineup, especially kind of depleted with injuries and some of the really young guys that have struggled, I feel like you want Pennington to get as many plate appearances as he can. So I like Pennington hitting second. But yeah, I think at leadoff next weekend, now that and I'm sure bringing Noah back, they wanted to get him a little game action before they just put him in the one hole. But I think it's probably time that we go back to that. Um, anything else on the lineup? Anything else that stood out to you this weekend, Wes? Watching those games?
Yeah, I think we've talked about it time and time again. Butterworth, he has really good at bats too. He hits the ball hard. So I still like our lineup. I have no issues with our lineup. I mean, we don't, we don't have the long ball potential 1 through 9 like we had, maybe a couple years ago or a few years ago now. But from a capability standpoint, from 1 to 9, I think it's a good lineup.
We've got 5
So
guys on our team with a significant number of at bats who have walked more than they struck out. You want to try to name them? You want to take a guess?
Chase,
Chase,
for sure. Luke, you just said Luke. Not Eli.
but it's closer than I thought. He's walked 25 times, struck out 29.
Yeah.
Chase has walked. Chase has walked 18 times and struck out 9. So 2-1, which is kind of crazy.
So Butterworth,
31 walks, 25 strikeouts.
Souls,
18 walks, 11 strikeouts. So Souls, both Nixons, Souls, Butterworth, and who do you think the 5th one is?
So one other guy, was it Hogue?
Not Hogue.
Not A-Mac.
It is Jacob Kozar.
Kozar, yeah.
Kozar, okay. And Kozar has struck out 33 times, but he has walked 37 times.
Wow.
So, he's a lot more patient than maybe even it seems like sometimes. But, yeah, I think we have a lineup. Like you said, we'd like to see a little bit more pop, especially after you get through the first 5 or 6 guys. But
those guys, I mean, if 5 through 9 plays like they did, the next 2 series, and we get some production from the top half of the lineup, that's tough to beat. I mean, it really is.
Yeah. I mean, Amac's at 18 home runs now. Pennington's at 11. I mean, Pennington's a guy that if he went and hit 6 in a weekend, it wouldn't surprise anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kozar, same thing. I mean, Kozar got on a tear there where he hit like 9 in 9 games. So I think that, I mean, if we could get a little bit more juice out of Eli, I mean, Luke and Butterworth have both hit the ball in the park. So, it'd be nice to maybe get a couple guys hot in the bottom of the lineup, but I still think we have a lineup that we can put on the field that can win.
Yeah, I mean, for me, for the power guys, I just don't think there's anything, if again, like I said a few minutes ago, from Kozar to A-Mac to Pennington, those guys have kind of produced what you probably thought they would produce at the beginning of the season. It's just really Eli that you hope that can get hot here down the home stretch, and then your other guys, the other 5 guys in the lineup kind of can do what you hope they can do. I mean, none of those guys are going to hit double-digit home runs in a season, but from an offensive standpoint, I don't know we're that far, and I don't know what's strange about the pitching. And even with Van Dam, we pray that Van Dam, maybe it's just a strain or maybe it's just a pull, but I'm feeling better about the pitching than I have all season. I don't know why. Maybe that's just I had too many beers in the Bahamas. I don't know, but like I don't. From what we saw from Consiglio and Derek Smith, and now we're getting Logan back. It's not, I think we can win games, but you're not going to win any game scoring 1 run ever.
And Duden even at a 4.50 ERA, I mean, I feel like that's a misleading number. I mean, because he can come in and be flat out dominant at times. I mean, he's just got dominant stuff. I do think that, gosh, I hope that Sam and Dom's best is left in him. One thing I will say, very encouraging. We talked about it a lot on here. It was huge very big deal that we saw Logan Whitaker today. I'm ashamed that we made it 30 minutes into the podcast without mentioning the fact that we got Logan Whitaker back. It's a shame that you get Whitaker back and Van Dam goes down immediately afterwards. But it was a big deal to get Logan Whitaker back. He wasn't dominant today by any means, but he struggled a little bit with command, which he normally doesn't. He had 3 walks in an inning, which for him, he's not a guy that walks people, but he was 93 velo wise, so that's at or above where he was earlier in the year. So I thought a real big deal. I don't think he'll keep struggling with command. I mean, he's a strike thrower. He just hadn't been out there.
Yeah, if you look at the rest of the season, you got 2 series. It's going to take him a little time to get his strength back. If the rumors that I heard anywhere that he had lost 20 pounds, so it's going to take him some time to get back. Some of his strength and endurance, but he should be primed when it comes time for a regional. And who knows, maybe that's a blessing in disguise that he's got less innings on his arm going into a regional compared to where we were last year when he had a lot of miles on his arm going into the Columbia Regional.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean he definitely should be a little fresher, even though he's having to get back in game shape.
Even Sam. I mean, unfortunately, he hasn't pitched his best the last month, but it's not like Sam's going out throwing 120 pitches every Friday night here. So, depending on what happens, our arms could be fresher than last year, at least going into Columbia.
And the Marone start the other night against UNCW was really, really good. So if you get back to where on the weekend you can roll out, Sam, Dom, and Witt, and then you have Consiglio and Marone left-handed out of the pen, like 2 guys that have proven that they can throw innings. I mean, if you look now on the year, Marone has thrown 42 innings, and Consiglio is now up to 30 innings. So you have 2 left-handed guys that can eat innings for you. And then also you got 2 right-handers now that you're pretty confident in Derek Smith and Jacob Duden. I mean, really, really would be nice to get Van Dam back. I'll be paying attention to what happens there, but you kind of feel like the pitching's coming around, and you hope that the bats start to come with it.
I mean, from a series standpoint, in the series, if you look at what we beaten Carolina, we beaten Clemson. I mean, their pitching hasn't looked that much better than ours.
No, I think too. Like our schedule is really. I mean, it's been just really, really good. So I am interested. That's what we're going to get into next, is talking about the Virginia series next weekend. So we play Virginia. Virginia in the RPI is number 11 now. I think after today, Virginia is 35-12. They're number 11 in the RPI, so another opportunity to go gather some RPI wins if we can do it. But if you look at Virginia's strength of schedule, it is 37. Where Florida State that we played this weekend, theirs was 26. NC State is number 8 now. And by the end of next weekend, it's probably going to be top 5 schedule in the entire country. Is there any concern, because I've had someone ask me this week, is there any concern that if we go lose our last 6 games, we just get left completely in the cold?
I mean, you can't lose 6 games in a row. I mean, the reality is we sit here and we talk about, and I don't know what it is, maybe it's 0-6 when we look at our record versus the North Carolina teams. ECU we lost to, UNCW we lost to,
Twice.
Campbell we lost 1, UNCG we lost 1, so 6. We're 0-6 against North Carolina teams. So I think maybe if we had won a couple of those, but what's our overall schedule? 26-18? Is that our overall record?
we're 26 and 18. And then, if you look, and I know a lot of guys too, if you read D1 or some of these publications, they don't love RPI anymore. I don't know. You got to have something to kind of a metric to go off of. I don't know if I love or hate RPI, but like Duke's on every host line. Like everybody has Duke as a host. We're 22 in the RPI, Duke's 24. Our strength of schedule is 8. Duke's strength of schedule is 39. Head to head, we beat Duke 2 out of 3. Like, how do they host and we don't?
I don't know. Maybe we don't have the headline guys like Santucci. You know what I mean? Like maybe that plays into the marketing aspect of that. I mean, I really don't think we're going to go 0-6 against Virginia or Wake Forest. If it happens, who's our midweek game? Not this week, but the following week.
This is our last midweek.
Yeah, so I mean that would put us at 500 record, right? So we would be 24-24. Is that right?
Well, no, we're at 27 and 18.
Oh, 27 and 18, yeah. So we'll be
26 and 18. I'm sorry. So
26-24.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
we don't need to lose the last 6 games.
Yeah. I don't think, I think when they would look at I think LSU is probably in about the same situation as we are.
Florida LSU, as well.
Yeah. So LSU and Florida, the same situation we are. LSU beat A&M this weekend. I don't know if they swept them or if it was they won 2 out of 3. And I think the committee would definitely look at your series wins, and then you would see the series wins against Clemson, North Carolina are going to be top 10 in the RPI. But I don't think you want to put yourself in that situation because 2 years ago, I can remember my nephew, I couldn't watch the selection process. My nephew calls me and I think he says we didn't get in. I thought he meant we didn't get a host. And then we didn't make the tournament.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean? And we had a 28, I think we were 28 RPI, 27 RPI, something like that. I think we might have been the highest or lowest RPI that never made the tournament. So, no different in basketball. I think you just, don't put yourself in that situation and you don't have to worry about it. I think we can win the series at Virginia and then win the series against Wake. And hey, we're due to beat Wake Forest. I mean, at this point, if Wake Forest comes in and sweeps us, they just dominate us. Like we're due to beat Wake Forest. I have a hard time believing, that they're gonna come in and sweep us in Raleigh on senior weekend. So, hopefully that's just not a situation that we have to cross.
So let's talk about Virginia real quick. Virginia's hitting 337 as a team, which is just wild to me. They've hit 82 home runs. If you look at them, they like to run. They steal. They've stolen 66 bags. They have struck out. Even hitting 337, they've struck out 318 times. To compare that to us, we're hitting 279, and we've struck out 281 times. Another thing, Wesley, that really stuck out to me when I was looking at Virginia stats, if you go outside of Evan Blanco, for them, who is 5-3 with a 4.38 ERA, nothing crazy, 66 strikeouts, 61 innings. They have no pitcher on their entire staff who's thrown more than 40 innings. So it kind of feels like they're going to just try to slug you to death. But I mean, they have a 5.59 ERA as a team, but they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 guys who have thrown double-digit innings for them. And then they have another 3 guys that have thrown more than 8. So 17 guys have thrown 8 or more innings for Virginia. So to me, I feel like they're going to run a lot of different arms out at us. Opponents are hitting 282 against them. I think that, it's one of those games where on paper, maybe we can slug it out with them. I mean, opponents are hitting 265 against us, and we've complained about our pitching. They're hitting 282 versus Virginia. So I think it's a series that we can go up to Charlottesville and win. I don't think there's any question. I would like to get at least one, but I mean, I'm a little more greedy than that, and hoping that we get two. And man, if we somehow went up there and I would, if we're going to win too, I'd love to see us win on Friday and Sunday. I mean, it'd be a lot less nerve wracking to win Friday and Saturday, but it would be nice to win a game on Sunday.
We're due for a game on Sunday.
We're due for a game on Sunday. No question.
I know.
So go ahead.
I was just sitting here thinking the crazy thing about when you think about the SEC and the ACC and the teams in those conferences, that when you look at Vanderbilt, you look at Georgia, LSU, Florida, there's going to be some, even in the ACC for NC State, for instance, there's going to be some really good teams that are 2 seeds in regionals this year. I know this sounds crazy, but with some of those teams, it wouldn't be the worst thing. I don't want to say we don't want to host. We definitely want to host, but sometimes, there's certain regionals that being the 2 seed might not be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about that a lot more next week, because I really think if we go to Virginia and we win 2 out of 3, we're probably going to be on the host line. You think?
I think if you win the Virginia series, you're hosting. It can't even be a line unless you go and get swept by Wake Forest. You have to be a host, and like I've said several times in this podcast, ECU, it would have really benefited us to split at least with ECU. I think ECU is an incredible team, but they haven't played anybody. So ECU's last top 50 series was the second weekend of the season when they played North Carolina. They haven't played anybody.
Not in a series. Not in a series.
In a series.
They played Duke this week, but again, not a series.
Yeah. Does that mean they're not a great team? No, that's not what they're saying. But they're not. I mean, think of Coach Avent, what he's having to do with, plug and play here the last, 10 weeks with what he has available. From Cliff's standpoint, Cliff can rest players against some of these guys that they're playing on the weekends. We don't have that luxury. So, that's not saying ECU is not a great team and can't go to Omaha. Certainly they can. I just think it's a different situation when you're going from, we played Florida State this weekend at Tallahassee. You get back to Raleigh tonight. You have to, of course, we're not going to play a midweek game. I hope we don't play the midweek game. And you got to prepare to go to Virginia, and Virginia's been to Omaha, I don't know how many times the last 5 years.
They know how to get there. They know what airport to take.
Right. So it's a different animal that we're dealing with. And that's not to say, that ECU is not a good team or other teams, the Pac-12. I guess the Pac-12 doesn't exist anymore. It's not saying they're not good teams. It's just they're not going through the gauntlet every weekend that we are. And what we hope is that pays dividends at the end of the season when we've had such good pitchers, and look at the development of Consiglio this weekend, where he's going into these hostile environments. And, a couple weekends against Clemson, he might not have pitched his best game, but he was pitching on a Sunday starting at Clemson. That makes a difference. That starts showing up here at the end of the year.
Yeah, been there, done that. Starts to matter. So probably going to be in a slugfest next week in Charlottesville. Hope our pitching shows up, and hope next weekend that we, when we're doing the pod, that we can have a serious conversation about our hosting potential. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Pack Homer Pod on Instagram and X, still looking for followers. So please do follow us there if it's not too troublesome for you. You can follow us on YouTube too. Last week our production was so Mickey Mouse that we did not even put our pod on the YouTubes last week, but we'll try to get it back up there again this week. You can of course still find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Appreciate you tuning in, and we'll catch up with you next week. If my music will play. Maybe. 1, 2, 3.